Hello everybody, my name is John Reed and I'm one of the developers that help build Google Web Designer. In this video I want to talk about some of the more advanced features in the advanced mode of timeline. There is another video where I cover basic animation using advanced mode in the timeline. If you've seen that video, you'll recognize our current setup here. This is where we left off in the previous one. I'll open up that file so that we can see it. And you'll recognize this animation. This is what we had before. You see it's a very simple animation that we built in the last video. I want to talk about some of the features that the timeline has for helping you, the timeline has in advanced mode for helping you sort of keep your animation, keep your workspace clean and help you organize your animations a little bit. We have the concept, of course, of doing labels. As I said, you can double-click on any layer and change its label. This actually, for HTML elements, when you do this, this actually modifies the ID attribute on the element. So when you save your file, this actually gets saved as This actually gets written into your document as the ID attribute on that element. The exception is for our components, our tap area, and so forth. These guys here. So if you use one of these in one of our ads and set the label on that, that goes in as an attribute in the scripting rather than as an actual ID on the element itself. So that's one way of helping you organize your animations. You can label your individual layers as you need to. Another way is we have a concept of hiding and showing layers. So each individual layer can be hidden or shown. A hidden layer is just invisible on stage. You can't select it on stage, so you can't select it with the marquee, and you can't select it with Control-A. You can select it in the timeline, and you can modify its keyframes and so forth. But you can't actually, and you can drag and drop it and so forth. But you can't actually select it on stage, and it gets out of your way. So this is a great way of sort of tidying up a complex animation. So if you had an animation that had lots of layers in it and you wanted to hide some of them, this gives you the ability to be able to do that. In addition, we have a concept of locking layers. A locked layer is visible. It doesn't affect the visibility of the layer, but it does affect whether or not it can be selected. A locked layer cannot be selected on stage or in the timeline. So you see here we have the blue one locked, and we cannot select it. We select the green one, not the blue one. Can't select it here. No matter how hard we try, we can't do it with Control-A. We can only select the other one because this one is locked. So it can't be moved, it can't be selected, it can't be modified or anything. So this gives you a way of sort of leaving stuff on stage visually so that you can see where they are, and maybe you need to animate around stuff, but you don't want to be selecting these things every time you do something. This gives you the ability to do that. In addition, we have a drop-down menu here, the Timeline Options menu, which lets you lock all layers or hide all layers. So it's a way of basically going through and clicking each of these icons individually. So if you have a lot of things you want to hide, this is the way to do it. In addition, we have this concept of showing only animated layers. So if I add in a couple more layers of elements, and I'm not even going to do anything with these guys, I'm just going to add them. So you see we have 3 new layers, no animations on them. If we hide them, they are still on stage, they're still selectable, you can still modify them. But they're not in the timeline because they're not animated. When this feature is activated, all we see in the timeline are animated layers. So this is another way of helping you sort of organize your stuff. These settings, lock, hide, and showing of animated layers, these are an author time construct only. They do not get published when you publish your files. So it's just for your benefit to keep your files organized while you're doing your work. We also have a concept of looping animations, and we have the ability to be able to set our preview mode to loop infinitely. This is, again, just an author time construct. This doesn't get published, but it does give you the ability to be able to see. So I'll activate it, and now both of these animations will loop infinitely as they play. And you can see this gives you an idea of what it looks like while your animations are looping. Again, that doesn't get published. If you want to publish that, what you need to do for each individual element is go to its Set Animation Repeat button and click on that. And that brings up a little pop-up menu where you can set how you want that particular animation to loop. No times, 2 or more times, or an infinite amount of times. And that gives you the ability. That actually does get published. So this is where you would go to actually do your individual track animations. And that gives you very fine control over what gets repeated and what doesn't. In addition, now in the keyframes, we have a couple of other features that we haven't outlined. You can drag and drop keyframes. So let's say we've got this nice animation going here, and this color change part here between here and here takes too long. So I'm just going to drag this end keyframe, and I'm going to move it into here. So now it only takes 400 milliseconds for that last bit to happen, and we'll play that. You can see it happened a lot faster. You can drag entire keyframes. You can also click and drag spans in between two keyframes. So you can see when you click in between two keyframes, it highlights both keyframes at the beginning and end, and then you can drag and drop that entire span. That makes this animation a lot longer. You can see it's a lot slower than it was before, and then it's very quick because we had the same duration that we made at the end. You can also, if you drag the very first keyframe, this is used to create an animation delay. So what I've done here is I've set a delay. This animation now will not start for 1 second, then it'll do its animation just like we have here. So we'll see the green layer will go ahead and animate as normal, but as soon as it stops, the blue layer will start its animation. So that's how you can induce delays in your animations. Now you'll notice while I was dragging these spans and the keyframes, they were snapping to our time markers. Similarly, as you click through the timeline, it doesn't matter wherever you click, it'll try and move the playhead to the nearest time marker. If you need more precision, you can actually turn off keyframe snapping here, and this will give you the ability to be able to move your time marker to wherever you need, and to be able to drag and drop spans to wherever you need. That'll give you that extra precision. If you really find you need that will go ahead and give you that extra precision that you can do. But I generally find that the keyframe snapping is pretty much what I like all the time. In addition, if you right-click on a keyframe, you can remove it. That gives you finer control of your animations. You can also view the animated properties on that particular keyframe. So these are the things that are actually being animated in this keyframe. Every keyframe will have top, left, width, and height, whether or not they're being animated. And then obviously we're doing the background color as well. If you click on the X next to one of these, it will get removed. So that gives you the ability to sort of knock out something in between two keyframes, so you can span an animation across a keyframe if you need to do something like that. That gives you the ability to do that. Just gives you a little bit more insight into things. You can't add things, but you can delete them once they're there. And then if you right-click in the middle of a keyframe, you can insert a keyframe at that point. So this gives you the ability to sort of split two keyframes, split the area between two keyframes and add a new keyframe. You can also change the easing. So if you take a look at this, I'm going to move this back. Back to here. So we'll take a look at this thing where it goes from here. The blue one goes from here to here. My solid one. So what we'll do is I want to change the easing on this. When you do that, this brings up a menu where you can alter the easing. Now it comes with a set of preset easings. These are the ones that are defined by the CSS standard, and you can pick whichever one you want, or you can do a custom one. So what I like to do is I like to do the little bouncing ease that you can get by just doing sort of an exaggerated thing like this, and this will cause a nice bounce on that. You click apply. You can see the label here changes to custom, whereas the rest of these are still linear, which is the default. Linear is the default according to the standard. And then if we play that, this motion here will have that little bounce at the end. So go ahead and watch. Boing. Pretty cool, huh? That gives you the ability to go ahead and modify your easings. So that's the more advanced capabilities of the timeline, and that gives you a lot more finer control over your work and over your animation.